But the more than human world, the animal voices, the unseen, uh, the land itself, herself, um, they're all crying out, and they're crying out to be heard. And people want to, they want people to understand that they have a voice. They all speak the silent language, which is telepathy. Every single being is alive. And this is what the old druids and the old shaman, the indigenous peoples, that's what they all teach.
Mm.
Everything is alive. Earth herself is a living being with a heartbeat, and she has things to say. And so, from my perspective as an interspecies telepath and someone absolutely who embodies all those old teachings, uh, when my neighbors start shooting at the
Mm.
kangaroos, I feel it.
Billie Dean, welcome to the Light Dump. You're in Australia today, I'm in New Zealand, and I just want to introduce you a little bit for those who perhaps not may not be aware of you. I know you don't like labels. I read that. So I'm going to give a list of skills.
Thank
That's
you.
not a label. You're skilled in writing, you're a filmmaker, you're an interspecies telepath, visionary, spiritual teacher, animal advocate, and carer at a place of peace farm, animal, and wild horse sanctuary in Australia. Now, through your advocacy for wild horses and kangaroos, you've created films, books, and music, and you explore what the more than human world may be trying to teach us at this very pivotal moment in human history.
I think they're really trying to call us. We're in a really difficult time. In Australia, it's particularly dark. The current government is, I don't know, I don't know what they're doing, but it's really not good. And there's this aerial culling, which is so inhumane and barbaric, and the shooting of kangaroos because they're considered, feral pests. I mean, here they are, they're a national icon, but here in Australia, they're feral pests and vermin.
Mm.
Um, you know, it is really a very dark time, and so many animal sensitives are really uh, feeling it. Um, but the more than human world, the animal voices, the unseen, uh, the land itself, herself, they're all crying out, and they're crying out to be heard. And people want to, they want people to understand that they have a voice. They all speak the silent language, which is telepathy. Every single being is alive. And this is what the old druids and the old shaman, the indigenous peoples, that's what they all teach.
Mm.
Everything is alive. So we've got the rivers are alive, the water is alive, and we all know from
Mm.
a moto that the water is alive. The trees are alive. The earth herself is a living being with a heartbeat, and she has things to say. And so, from my perspective as an interspecies telepath and someone absolutely who embodies all those old teachings, when my neighbors start shooting at the
Mm.
kangaroos, I feel it. I feel it. When they're doing aerial culling, I feel it. I feel the cry of the land. And so I'm calling it a culture of cruelty, and that we need
Yeah.
to stand up and fight it and change it and change the narrative to a culture of compassion and kindness. And I think that, as a species going forward, we really need to figure out, what are these actions doing? What sort of world are we creating?
Mm.
Now, I'm assuming that all your listeners know about the new Earth that's been promised and coming, and that everyone's talking about it. I heard about the prophecy of peace in about 1978. So,
Right.
and I just went, oh, yes, I'm there. What's a prophecy of peace? But it sounds good. I'm there. My soul remembers. I'm there. And then every decade, there would be Indigenous people coming. I was asked to write articles. Hopi elders would come to
Mm.
Australia and talk to us. I was involved in a huge gathering of peace, which were being held all over the world. Grandmother Twyla had a dream about it, and so there was one here in New South Wales, and all the different Indigenous tribes came, and so that was that era. And it's just been a constant in my life. We went to the Harmonic Convergence in Glastonbury.
Oh,
We've done all the work, filmed it all and written about it all. And it has really informed the vision. So you've got to hold the vision that it's coming. And right now, the patriarchy is holding on and holding on and holding on
mm,
with a really tight grip. I mean, in Australia, we've got a fight between the Liberals and the Labor. And the Liberal leader just stood up and said, aerial culling is barbaric. And so the Labor retaliated by extending the cull for 2 weeks.
wow.
I'm sorry, it
Where is
really
that
upsets
loss
me.
of heart?
Mm,
Where, how did that happen to that extent? It's really hard because I recently actually commented on a post because this is unfathomable.
I know,
We're 2026
I know,
and this is going on. People are still hunting for trophies. You know, what the hell is
I
going
know.
on?
And I just got an email today inviting me to a group called Nature Philosophy. And you'd think, oh, that sounds good. But they're organizing a hunting trip out in the outback. And I'm going, what?
What?
What? What is
Ooh.
happening? I don't understand it because every being has a soul, every being has a purpose, every single being wants to live. And, I live with them all. And I've
Mm,
had 40 years of experience of rescuing animals from terrible situations. And, I've found what I've wanted to do is, write down all the stories of, what they say. Like when we first rescued our first truckload, we got a truckload
mm.
of brumbies from the Kosciuszko National Park way back, way
Tell
back.
people what a Brumby is, just in case I don't
A
know.
Brumby is a wild horse.
Okay.
So they're
Okay.
the Australian wild horse,
Okay.
and they've been here for 200 years, as long as we have. And they came out in the first fleet, and after helping us in the war and doing all that sort of work, many of them were turned out into the wilderness. And contrary to the pro-cull people, the Invasive Species Council, and those people will say they're destroying the habitat. Well, the habitat's still there after 200 years.
Mm,
And so they're just using them as a scapegoat. I live with 100 brumbies and they don't hurt the habitat at all. And anybody who thinks they do are comparing them to a domestic horse stuck in a paddock. These
right.
are nomadic animals, and they, because they're wild, they remember how to be wild.
Mm,
So they're like wildlife. They understand I can smell water. I know where the grasses are. I know that I have to keep that water clean. Now we've got rescued cows and they will walk through our creek, our pristine creek, and they will defecate because they've been domesticated.
mm.
And but our wild horses will leave it pristine, absolutely pristine. So, and this is why, land care people say fence off your water, not for the wild horses, but for the cows. And, no disrespect to the cows, I absolutely adore them. But,
Mm.
they it's different. The wild horses don't do that.
It's interesting. They've been trained to forget as well, like we were. Okay.
They've been trained to forget as well. But I tell you what, when they are, my understanding of the cow people is that they are earth keepers. They hold so much earth wisdom. I spoke at length to the Heart Math Institute a while back, and they were saying that both horses and cows will, when they're resting, line up with the Earth's magnetic field. They
Mm.
have a connection to the Earth that we don't even think about. People see them as stock, and they're not stock. My neighbor who has them is terrified of them,
Right.
and he calls them beasts.
Mm.
And no kangaroo is allowed to, um, interfere with his grass for his beasts. So the kangaroos are all vermin, and he has to kill them. So, you know, and I've had talks with him, and he's got friends who are vegan. I don't know. It's really ingrained. It's ingrained in the culture, and that's what I've set out to make a difference. We need cultural change. We really need cultural change. And it was interesting because this morning I was scrolling for a minute, and there's Harrison Ford standing up saying, "We need a change of culture. The indigenous people say the earth is alive. We need to start listening to them." And I'm
Mm.
going, "Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you." So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
I
and
mean,
we do.
do you
Sorry.
feel like there is that shift? I feel like there's a momentum there, but is it big enough and loud enough? And has it got traction? You know?
Um, well, just speaking, from the Brumby side of things, which to me is you know, a tell for the greater movement.
Yeah.
Um, it's really gathering momentum. There's people crying out all over the world, calling Australia absolutely barbaric. But on the other side, the Invasive Species Council has got such a hold on the government, and for their own reasons, they won't let it go. And now, they get their press releases out and tell everyone that we're all, emotional people and we shouldn't be listened to.
Mm.
Um, and, and I'm sitting there saying, what ordinary Australian, what decent human being would think that being filled with 15, up to 15 bullets from the air is a
Not
humane
okay.
thing to do? It's not okay.
No.
It's really not okay.
No.
And for them to respond to this escalation by saying, oh, yeah, no, we'll just continue the cull for 2 more weeks. I mean, that's just indicative. So, yes, there is momentum, but it doesn't seem to be stopping what's happening here. And we need it to stop because those ancient beings, and all of them, it's deer and pigs as well.
Mm.
And, even some of the Brumby supporters will say, oh, they destroy the environment, not the Brumbies. But if you understand rewilding looks at every animal and understands that there's a purpose for every being.
Mm.
What I say, and what I learned when especially when I started channeling I've got a card deck called the Fey Elder's Guide to the Higher Dimensions. And, when I tuned into Kookaburra, a Kookaburra was saying, I don't sing just for the Kookaburras. I don't laugh just for the Kookaburras. I laugh for the community. And I went,
Mm.
yeah, you're right. There's a community. And so the black cockatoos, when they come, uh, we all say, oh, black cockatoos are coming. They'll bring rain. And but it's not just for humans, it's for everybody. It's for all beings. And, and so every single being has a role to play. Like the
Mm.
pigs in rewilding, yeah, they dig the earth, they aerate it. And so when the wild pigs come through our place, we go, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And then they just go somewhere else. Whereas all the farmers are up there going, oh, we've got to kill them. It's like, no, they're aerating your land.
Yeah.
They're doing the ploughing for you because you haven't, and the land is, has been trodden down, and you need to understand what's happening here. And every
This is
being
just
has.
the understand what's happening. This huge disconnect, this
Mm,
huge generation after generation of disconnection. And I think there is an awareness that we are disconnected and a quiet yearning too to really come back to nature. And I mean that nature from everything from the rocks to everything that lives and breathes as we know it.
the rocks are very much living. I
Yeah.
went down to the KNP to go to a protest, and we had a Brumby supporter who was driving us, and she knows the area really well. We don't, and she drove us around showing us things, and there was this amazing rock formation, and I went, "Whoa!" you know,
Yeah.
I can feel it, and that is a totally sacred, you know, rock formation. And she said, "Oh yes, that's where everybody goes to the toilet."
Okay.
Yep, yeah. So yes, we're very disconnected, and like the other things, you know, calling national parks parks. They're wilderness areas and they should be left as wilderness areas
Mm.
because our wildlife needs somewhere to live. But our current Minister for the Environment is thinks, and like, as a trained bard, I always think of words, and I'm a writer, and I think of words, and I understand words. So calling everything a park, you immediately, when you're, living in the city, you immediately think swings, park, area for families,
Sure.
and it's beautiful in a city. But that's what they're doing to our wilderness.
Mm.
So now we've got walkways and bike, they just want to they're turning this beautiful wilderness area, they're turning this beautiful wilderness area into 12 months year-round tourists. So it's all about money.
Yeah.
And uh,
Yeah.
and then they blame the Brumbies. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all.
Often really shocked when people write about their feelings of horror at cruelty to animals, and they there's an immediate wish to put the same horror onto the people who created it, perpetrate it. Yeah, keep it going, keep it in that cycle.
It's
And
that
there's no
triangle.
real
Mm.
awareness that, oh, I'm doing the same, but in a different way. Yeah,
It's one of the things we do when I do my women's circles. I do gatherings, and we do spiritual activism, magical activism. And one of the things that we do is Ho'oponopono, which is the Hawaiian
beautiful. Yeah,
shaman
yeah.
forgiveness. And so we chant that a lot. And then I've got a free chant for anyone's watching on our YouTube at Wild Pure Heart called In the In Between. And I wrote it understanding all the old Celtic and Fey old magics where people chant, let me see if I can remember, rings of light, hold us tight, hold them tight, keep them safe day and night. And then it's 1, 2, 3, something, something, something. Keep
Is
them
it going
safe.
on?
Keep them safe in the in between. And so I'm
Right.
calling the in between. I'm calling the ancestors. And so one of the ways to keep being safe is to see them as strong, courageous, alive, full of vitality,
Mm.
and cloaked. And I had a free workshop that I did a couple of weeks or just before the day before the culling started. And sure enough, the next day it was really foggy and no planes,
Oh,
no
yes.
helicopters went. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's available to anyone who wants to cloak any animal in any country. And you can just see it or download it free from rewildingaustralia.com.au. And that's my compassionate conservation website.
Beautiful. And these old ways, that they were at a time when the humanity was working in a quite a different way and much more in community. So that's fallen apart, dismantled over the years. So it is quite hard, I think, for people to wrap their head around how can these old ways be relevant today?
Oh, they're very. Uh, it's things like some of the teachings that I like to repeat over and over again is things like if we start honoring Mother Earth and if we go to the land and we want to walk on the land, we ask permission. That's an old way. We stop seeing the world as a resource and start seeing them as kin. So if everybody, took a step back and saw
Uh,
cows and sheep and goats and earth and trees all as kin, that would be a big step forward. You know, the old ways also teach that the world is relational. So when when we go, if we want to go to the forest and pick up kindling, we take something, and it could be from my heart to your heart. It could be
mm,
love, appreciation. There's a lot of people who get caught up in, I have to give something. And I've seen, people give coins, people give, products. But the earth doesn't want products because that becomes pollution, right? And it's the same with the water, like the rivers. People would do old ways of making a little paper boat and putting all their emotions that they wanted to release and send it sailing down the the river or on a lake or whatever.
mm.
But the spirits have told me we don't want that. It's pollution. We can't take that now. So find another way. So I started going down to our creek. Instead of doing fire ceremony, I do water ceremony. And, with I'd pick up a little bit of sand and say, is this okay? And I would, you know, blow into that, very shaman style, and then sprinkle that into the water because that's already been in the water. That belongs in the water. And so you're not adding something for the water to deal
You're
with.
just showing respect and you're actually creating a conversation. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
water is happy to help you release, and so is the earth. The earth and the fire, all the elements are happy to
Mm.
help you release, and they will transmute it to light if you ask. But we don't need to litter. And that's one of the other things that I like to teach. In the old ways, we leave no tracks. So you live very lightly on the land. And, for example, I used to teach this to my shamanic students. And so they would strip their beds after they'd stayed in a place. They would wash them, they would dry them, and they would put them neatly, at the end of the bed or on a cupboard or
Mm. Mm.
somewhere. And, the people they were, staying with, the B&Bs and the, you know, places to stay around town, they'd all be going, wow, this is amazing. But I taught them we don't leave tracks. And that comes, we can do that in everyday life. But
Mm.
when you're staying
Mm.
with someone, don't make it harder for them, ask them, can we strip the bed? Can we, Can we, remake the bed with clean sheets? It's
It's
just
that
little things.
conscious way
Yeah,
of being. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, very conscious. That's
Yeah.
a very good word for it. And but
Um,
this idea of reciprocity of Aini, like
yeah.
humans, I've heard humans or white folk really being called the ones who come empty-handed.
Mm,
And when I heard that, I just went, I don't want to be one of those people. And but it's because we take, and we see the earth as a resource, we see the trees as a resource. But to me, they're kin. So I always give back, and one of the things I like to give back with is just some rolled oats, because then the birds have the physical form,
mm,
and it doesn't hurt them.
mm,
And it was interesting. I was having a Celtic shaman workshop here with some visiting Irish shaman, and they asked me to collect some hawthorn berries. And it was a bit late in the season, but I managed to get some. And they said to me very loudly, "You leave some." And I've said, "Of course, because we need to share with everybody and not just
mm,
take everything." And I said, "No,
mm,
no, of course, of course." So I took a few from each tree. We've got quite a few hawthorns here. And, but first I gave, because we give first. And it was the most incredible experience, because
mm.
I put the oats around the hawthorn, and I could see with my spirit eyes the earth rise up to take it. It was incredible. I saw
Oh,
the earth taking the essence.
oh, how
Witnessed
beautiful.
it. And I thought, wow, like they're showing me so that I can teach that, and
Where
how
did you get your
important it is.
spirit eyes from? How long have you had those?
Uh, I think all my life. I think,
Yeah.
it's the same with the telepathy. It never stopped.
Mm,
I can remember being 8 and tripping over stones when I walked home from school going, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just a way of being. And then I realized, oh, I can't really tell anyone. And I used to collect them if they asked me to take them, only if they asked me, because not every stone wants to be removed. And you get a lot of people going, oh, I'll just pick that up. I'll just pick that up. But you can't. Everything has to be done with permission. You've got to honor their sovereignty.
mm,
And some of them will say, you need to pick me up. And I'll go, okay. So I had this collection of rocks, and today I'm still doing it. The house is full of rocks. But back then, I didn't tell, you couldn't tell anyone.
yeah.
And even at as young as 8, I knew that they would think I was crazy. So they all thought that, oh, she's into geology. She's going to be a geologist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I just,
Right.
but
Working the
yeah,
mines, right? God.
I was brought up in a very straight household. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're some of the things that I like to teach that are relevant today. And you know, be conscious, be aware of what your footprint is, and be kind. It's so important that we're kind. I told a story. I did a solstice gathering, and I'm very connected to the Fae. The Fae have always been with
I want to
me.
talk about the Fae in a minute.
Right. Well, maybe
Yeah.
we're talking about them now.
Yeah. Well, I really want you to explain because some people have no idea about
Oh,
the
really?
Fae. Yeah.
Okay. So the Fae, speaking of childhood, the Fae have always been with me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Andrew and I going for a walk with our dogs um, in Sydney in a park where we run every day, run the dog every day. And there was this fairy person,
Mm.
uh, very tall. I'm only very short, but she was taller than me, and we both saw her.
Oh,
We both saw her, and the fact that Andrew saw her as well, I mean, that was,
wow.
I could tell that wasn't just me. But they've always been around, and when I was studying, all this, how you go through, you study everything, everybody would always see them around me. Um, so when I was in Ireland, uh, we had to go, we went, I was studying shamanism in Ireland, and we went to the fairy tree on Tara. It's called the fairy tree,
Hmm.
and hawthorn tree, of course. And everybody was there, and I just waited my turn. And I heard a little voice going, "Come in, now you've got to kiss the branch." And I went, "Seriously?" Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll kiss the branch. And as soon as I kissed the branch, I was sucked into a portal.
Oh,
And yeah, it was pretty amazing. And there was this little man, and he said, "You come from here. You come from this space. And we kicked you out because you're a bard. And once a bard, always a bard. Once a poet, always a poet." And I'd been writing poems and songs, lyrics, all my life. It just always, that's what I did. And, I did other things with my writing, journalism, screenplays, comedy,
right.
everything, kids shows. Like, I've been a writer, but it really made me think. And then they showed me a whole lot of stuff. And I came back and I was absolutely dazzled. But I was like, whoa. But these are the people in Ireland, they're the Tuatha De Danann, and they were a people who were a magical people, and they lived in Ireland for, quite some time. And then the Milesans defeated them. And so they went and lived underground,
Underground. Okay.
underground,
Yeah.
but in another dimension.
Another dimension. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I was about to start saying, that these people, and there's fairy people all over the world, and of course religion and the powers it made them little tiny Victorian fairies.
Yeah.
But they're not, they're beings, and they have been wanting, and one of the reasons that what this man was saying to me was, you must go out and remind people that we exist and the old ways exist. You
Mm.
must do that. That's your job because you're a bard. And I went, oh, we've got a grove of elm trees here. And one day they called to me, so I started, because I've always been taught by trees, and very druid.
I love
I've been
it.
taught by trees.
Yeah.
Um, and when we first got here, it was the pine tree, and then it was the elms, and now it's the hawthorn. But the elm trees taught me for a very long time, um, and a fey man would come down into that area as well. And so I'd go to the dryads, the tree spirits first, and then I'd talk to my mentor from the fey. And one day I was filling up a trough, and he came out and towered over me, put his hands um, on my shoulders, and just said, "Write." And I thought, I am writing. What do you want me to write about? I'm writing this, I'm writing that, I'm constantly writing.
Mm.
But now I'm writing songs, I'm teaching about the old ways, and it seems to be making them very happy.
How can
So
we all talk to trees? How can we, you know, have that deep, I want to say knowing that we're
uh well,
hearing?
it's just about listening, and to listen you need to still the mind.
Mm,
If your mind's really busy or you're stressed or anything, it's very difficult to hear.
mm,
But if you sit with a tree and ask them, and of course give first, my trees always used to say, like if there's a circle, I would always ask permission to go in, and they would always tell me to take off my shoes, so I'd have to go in barefoot. And it's just like having a conversation. It's and treating every being and everything with reverence. If I'd
yeah,
crossed a line and just sort of barged in and worn my shoes, and you know, they might not have been so giving,
yeah,
but they taught me for years. And during the fires, I would say to them, that's the other thing that I like to teach. We need to ask, what can I do for you?
yeah.
And I would say to them, what can I do for you? It's drought. What can I do for you? And they told me to clean up all the litter on the ground, not human litter, their litter, fallen leaves,
Uh-huh.
fallen twigs, all this sort of stuff. So I did a big clean up and left it clean. And I said, "Is that okay?" Yes. And then we got the fires, and the fires came rushing over the hill, and I just thought, if I lose them, but they seemed to think they'd be okay. But I couldn't see anything because the smoke was so thick. And the fire got really close to them, but it didn't burn them.
Because the
They
list
were
didn't
safe.
catch.
It just didn't burn them.
Mm,
And the other day, it was this year. The other day, it's going so fast I can't tell when. But
mm,
the the hawthorn said to me, "We don't have fire consciousness in our field."
mm.
And I went, "Oh, no fire consciousness in your field. That's really interesting."
Mm.
And so it's something I want to teach all the eucalypts and wattles here. Um, let's get rid of fire in your field
Mm.
if you want, because everything, and it's the same as the brumbies and kangaroos, if you want, because some of them choose to be sacrificed.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a tough one, isn't it?
and it was interesting because when the fires hit us, um, afterwards I went out and I had a backpack full of water and was just putting out spot fires. And there's a hawthorn tree in the middle of all these gums and everything. And I just went, wow, you're untouched, absolutely untouched.
Wow.
It was amazing. The other thing that we did, because it was drought, we were feeding everybody, and we feed all the wildlife. And because I couldn't put it where any of our animals were. So there was a place right in the middle of the bush, which was closed off to our cows and sheep and horses and goats. And so the wildlife had their own special feeding place. And it was in a special, beautiful little clearing. And I'd put food out there. And the way I do it is not just, there's food. It's an offering.
Right.
So it's sacred. And the fire didn't touch it. And I'd go up there at night feeding the wildlife. And it was magic because they'd chase me.
Oh,
They'd chase the car. There'd be roos and wombats, and they'd be
oh,
squabbling when I opened the, bring us our food.
release.
Oh, yeah, it was, but it was beautiful to see them,
Yeah.
and really during that very dark time, just to have them around, and they came to our place because we've got a lot of dams, and they knew, so they would be coming to our place to get to the water and to get to safety.
Mm.
and uh, everyone worked together.
Yeah.
Everyone would eat. They would take it in turns. They all had, I'd put out several different, and I'd everywhere I saw, for example, a kangaroo, I would put another food station and make sure they all had access to food and water. Um, Anytime I saw a wombat, same thing. Um, but we had deer, we had rabbits, we had foxes. Everyone just got on. It was beautiful.
As they do in nature,
Yeah,
as they
that's
do.
that's the thing. And
Mm.
you know, to me, like Parks and Wildlife didn't feed them.
No, they didn't
No,
even try.
no. In fact, I have to say this because I've been telling everyone for many years. The the fire Black Summer started by a lightning strike in a tinder dry forest. Again, national forest behind us. We butt right up against it. And our guys went out immediately and you know, put the fire out on three sides, and National Parks said, "Hey, you've got to get out of the park. We've got it under control. We're handling this."
Okay.
And in those days, they thought, "Oh, well, they're going to handle it." Well, they didn't do a thing for 3 days.
Oh my God.
Nothing. They let it burn, and by the time it got to our place, it was a wildfire, and we had all the town's fire people at our place, and they, there was no anything they could do, but it stayed in the bush and went left and right, and fortunately left our place alone. I'd created a sacrifice paddock with my horses, and we were told to, and it stopped right there.
All right.
Nothing to burn. And this, when these managers, these conservation people say, "Oh, it's all the grass. Thank God we got rid of all the brumbies. All the grass is growing this high." And I'm going, and we're all
Wow.
going. You're going to kill every bit of wildlife because the wildfire will come through if there's no herbivores to eat
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
It needs to be eaten down, and it's always been eaten down. And before we used to have megafauna, and the horses are now the new Australian megafauna, and they're doing a lot of good work. But anyway, back to the Fae. You can
Yeah.
tell that's an issue because I love
Mm.
them. Um, Back to the Fae. The Fae, yeah, they want to be heard. They want to be known about. They want the old ways brought back because it's important. And on Solstice, I told the story of how once upon a time, a long time ago, the Fae elders were very worried about the dark that was encroaching humanity, the disconnection from the natural world and their place in the community, and how they were forgetting and how they were abusing, and it was getting really dark. And so they sent off flame keepers to find the last ember
Mm.
in humanity. And on winter solstice, they went everywhere. They went to the churches, they went to the temples, they went everywhere, couldn't find it. And they finally found the last ember in a young woman rescuing a tiny kitten, keeping
Mm.
her warm and taking her home in the on the darkest night in the middle of winter. And they went, "That's it."
That's the ember. Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
Beautiful story. That's a beautiful, yeah. Yeah. That's what we have to do.
Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
we have to bring back compassion and, you know, understand that every being needs it. Every
Mm.
being. One of the things I keep saying is all life is precious. All beings belong. And uh, deep peace for everybody.
Now, deep peace is something you talk about quite a lot, and I think that deep peace is very interesting because I don't think many people would relate to deep peace, sadly.
It's true, and people tend to think um, peace is, for people, it's not war,
That's
but it's
right.
much more than that.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of safety,
Mm,
and we don't feel safe either
mm,
because we have a violent culture.
mm.
I mean, if people have all got guns, well, I mean, we had a shooter up the back here, um, in the forest, hold up a man who was driving home and hold him up at gunpoint and rob him. And you know, it,
Mm.
it's getting a bit out of control. And we used to be better. We used to be better. Uh, but anyway,
It's getting extreme, isn't it? So
it's it,
why, where does that go? It's got to, I'm an eternal optimist, hopefully, that, okay, if we don't learn and it has to get this extreme, um, is this what we have to, is this where it has to go for us to be able to make a very clear choice in another direction?
I think Buckminster Fuller would, and I think it was he got it from I don't know Plato or someone. I
Yeah,
can't really
probably.
remember.
Yeah, yeah.
But the this idea of let the old world die and just focus on building a new one. And so that's what we've done here with the Place of Peace. And it got its name, a Place of Peace, because we'd rescued all these. We started off rescuing horses and dogs, and a lot of ex-race horses, and
Right.
you know, they were really kind of emotional basket cases, poor things. And so we'd bring them here, we'd turn them out in the paddock with all the other horses, and they'd immediately calm down. And I can remember we were involved in the horse scene here when we first arrived, and we were sitting down having a cup of tea, and this woman said to me, how dare you just leave them in the paddock? You know, it's really cruel. And I went, mm-hmm. I said, well, let's go and have a look at them. And they were all coming across the creek, and we met them, and they were just emanating peace.
Mm.
And off they went, to wherever they were going. And this woman turned around to me and said, I really apologize.
Right.
I
At least you got it.
deeply, deeply apologize. They're really happy. And I thought, yeah, they are. And then other people would come, I would bring my students out and they'd be going, it's so peaceful here. It's really peaceful. And I thought, well, what's creating the peace? It's a lack of pressure. These horses don't have to perform. They're
Freedom.
not being asked to do things.
Yeah.
They're peaceful. They're living a natural life. They're going back to natural herd life where they're
Mm.
safe. They can lie down and someone, and no one's asking them to do anything. Um, and we certainly didn't. I mean, they'd come
Mm.
in and have their feet done, and a farrier could do them all without halters. They were so calm. And and then I heard about the wild horses, and we started to bring in the wild horses, and more it was just peace.
Mm.
And it's we had a horse get stuck in a tree. I know that sounds weird.
Okay.
Her leg was stuck in a tree branch that was too tight, and we called our neighbour, our good neighbour, and they arrived, and they hadn't been down here, I don't know, for years, and they came down, and they were like, "Wow, this is like Narnia."
How
We're seeing
beautiful.
wombats and deer, and the deer didn't run away, and all the kangaroos and all the horses, and it's just wow.
It's so fascinating, isn't it, that you, with that intention, going into your space, the space that you've created for all living creatures there, has just allowed peace to
Mm,
prevail,
yeah,
freedom, peace to prevail. So really, I mean, what's my question here? I think that's an interesting idea that the land actually holds that peace now. And because we don't really think about land having trauma as well, holding trauma and clearing the trauma from the land and allowing peace to prevail again.
we had to do that after the fires, just
Mm,
clear the trauma, and I would make up homeopathy and essences and things, and speak into the water and sprinkle all the food I was giving the wildlife and sprinkle it on the earth and do all the shamanic things I know how to
mm,
do to clear the trauma. And when we went down to KMP, it was so full of trauma. There was
mm,
no bird song. And here they are going, oh, it's for conservation. It's not. It's not really at all. And
mm,
it's certainly not conserving anything. There was so much shock and trauma held in the
mm.
land there and in the air, in the trees. It was horrifying. It was horrifying what they are doing. But to take the idea of deep peace further, um, if we think about coherence and how things ripple,
Mhm.
and so you've created what we call this place is, like a blueprint for tomorrow, but it ripples out this idea
Mm,
of, peace for every species, this safety, this lack of pressure, and they can be themselves, they can relax, they can really relax, their nervous system regulates,
mm, mm.
and uh, and that's a gift. That's a real gift, and not many animals, when you think about it, not many animals get that opportunity to really relax and have their nervous system regulate and feel peace, feel safety. And cows, they might look safe, but, they might look relaxed, grazing in fields, but they know when the truck's coming. They
Yeah.
know. They know everything. And, then I think about, morphogenic resonance and tipping points, and that's where we have to go. So if everyone can focus on, working with the old ways to build the new way,
Yeah. Yeah. Then maybe
it's
humans, even in cities, can be rewilded into into that deep peace wherever they are.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just understanding a way to be, and I really wish that I could teach that to the Minister for Environment here because
Oh,
yeah.
something will have to give, and quite soon.
Well, I hope
Mm.
so because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
land doesn't want. Look, we need different forms of energy. I'm not disputing that, but as soon as we start getting a whole lot of wind turbines, it just turns that area into dystopia.
Yeah. No.
The animals
No.
can't live with that low
No.
vibration sound.
No.
No one can.
Birds certainly can't.
No, and birds can't. No one
Yeah.
can. They don't want to. And so then they move, and then they've lost more home. And I think there's different ways of, there's so many fascinating. I don't know. Have you heard Craig Braddon talk about it? The
Yeah. Pretty
the all the
amazing.
new technology that's
Yeah.
around.
Been
It's
around
like
for
we
quite a
need.
while too.
Yeah, yeah, it has a
Yeah.
long while.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, why aren't we using that? Why are we destroying country, and destroying habitat and destroying lives to get this tech that really isn't good for the planet in an attempt for green energy when there's all this beautiful energy that doesn't hurt anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's no mining, there's no anything. It's just beautiful. There's just so many different ways out there. And all people have to do is, Google it.
And I just wonder if, because I mean, if we were, you and I are sitting here 10 years from now, what would we see? Is it going to be two worlds, if you like, perhaps?
Good question.
Mm,
Because I've been, sitting with the prophecy of peace,
mm.
which, for people who might not know, was 1,000 years of peace, a golden age like no other.
Golden age, yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, and we do have ages. So
Yes, we do.
we do
Absolutely.
have ages. So we're starting a new cycle now.
Yeah.
But 10 years, I don't know. Like I was expecting it to be in place, years ago.
I know.
It's taking its
Yeah.
time. And, you know, I think that, if I call it the dark, it's the patriarchy, it's still,
Well, it's having a last grasp and it's doing a
yes.
pretty big kind
Yeah.
of grippy
Yeah.
last grasp, and that's probably to be expected,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So no real surprises there.
No.
Um,
I think if we
this,
keep pushing, but like you see people and they're going, we're building the new earth. Get your farm animals. And it's like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's not the new earth. The new earth doesn't kill their kin. And,
mm,
the new earth doesn't need to kill because that's perpetuating the old thinking. So, and I'm seeing a lot of pagans go, yeah, I'm hunting now. It's doing me so much good. And I feel for the animal, but I feel good. That's not the new earth. That's not
yeah,
the new way.
yeah,
So, when I think about Lemuria, I think
yeah.
that's more of a place where we're heading to if
Well,
we can.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
That's
If
kind of that's my dream. Well, it's
mm,
probably where I was once.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure you were. So was
yeah,
I.
yeah,
Very resonate
yeah,
with Lemuria. And
yeah,
and I think that if we can, you know, teach people and show people. And like, for example, a lot of plant-based people are trying to show people, like, hey, we're athletes and we don't eat meat,
yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. It's just not happening. My daughter thinks that because there's this sort of pushback from in conservatism, that's why, veganism has sort of taken a back step. We're noticing it. And well, here anyway, I don't know about the rest of
Hmm.
the world.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it just seems to be harder to get that message across right now. People even watch films like Dominion and go, oh yeah, and still eat meat. I don't know how they can.
Mm.
I learnt about it when I was very, very little, and my uncle thought that he could toughen me up by showing me how he got Sunday dinner. And he had a duck, and because me being a sensitive,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
could feel all the duck's agitation and fear and terror. And then he cut her head off, and I felt everything, the disconnection, everything, and then her body was still going,
Yeah.
and the body chased me around the wood heap where he was, where we were, and
Wow, is that enough to put you off?
it's just, and then, and then they very
Oh,
proudly served up, my aunt and uncle served me up Sunday dinner,
dark.
and the family, the rest of the family, and I'm just sort of going, no, I got into trouble,
For
but
saying,
that was my realization where meat actually came from, and
yeah.
that was it for me. Not doing it, but I felt all her pain. Everything was transferred to me
Mm,
because I'm an empath and telepath. So,
it
and
hurts.
I'm getting, emails and messages from people who are going, I'm getting sick
Yeah.
because it's the distress of right now is so much. So I'm about to put out a blog and a Substack and maybe a reel if I can.
Yeah. Good
I
idea.
do I do the reels after I've fed the last horses. Got like covered in hay, and I'm going, oh no,
Right.
I've got hay all through my hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, but I just sort of go, I get through the gate and go, "Oh, I've just got to say this. And there are ways to help uh, get rid of the trauma. Um, I found, I mean, old ways, like with the earth and the fire and water and all kinds of ways. So I've written them down for other people. But personally, I found, the lyrics have just been coming, all my frustration and all my love, all and my teachings, like all
Yeah.
beings belong. It's just been, and I've got one called, I think it's called Whispers in the Wind, and it's about the new world coming. And I would say that there are pockets of light, and there's
Yeah.
certainly people all over the world holding the light. Absolutely. And we're all doing our work. And, to, you know, and we just have to keep going, holding the light
Yeah.
because that's what we're here for. That's what we
Yeah.
signed up for, and shining our light. And now is the time, you know, like I'm sure we've all been burnt or whatever, persecuted in our lives as well,
Mm.
past
Mm.
lives, parallel lives, whatever. But this life we're not going to be, and we have to remember that together we're stronger. Together we can be a force of change.
Mm.
And I'll never forget as a filmmaker at a conference seeing a little film about people watching a concert, and they're all just sitting. And one guy just stands up and starts dancing wildly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Going for it. Yeah.
he's going for it. And then another person joins him, and then another person, and then another person, until everybody was dancing.
Right.
And we were taught that's how movements start.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Mm.
So I think,
Gorgeous imagery. Love
yeah,
that.
mm, it was it was great, and it stuck with me. And I think that we all have to hold up our lanterns, shine our light, and be the people of the future now.
Mm.
And as to your question about 10 years, I don't know, the shift's coming. I would like to think in 10 years there's a big change. I don't, you know, some people say there'll be two worlds. I can't really say. It's a question I'll take to the trees
Yeah.
and
I'd
ask
like, I
them.
would be interested to hear their input on that.
I've got a few projects, beauty projects, I call them, and they're to uplift, and they're just books of whimsy and little sort of funny
Beautiful.
spells
Mm.
and the sort of cozy or recipes. And somebody said, "Oh, I thought it was a recipe book." And I'm going, "No, no, it's a magic book." But it does have recipes in it because kitchens are half magic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So they give me joy to write those and to write my
Yeah.
songs, just to be able to, put my songs to music and, you know, and have people enjoy them. Uh,
Playfulness with it.
It's,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
beautiful.
and I'm writing, like I've written a protest album. I made it like a live concert album. Um, and and it was so fun too. I mean, I used to be a record reviewer back in the day, so and go to all the concerts and everything. And anyway, um, but so that's heavily influenced by that time, early
That time.
70s and
Mm.
things. And then someone said, "Oh, Billy, you're Australia's Joan Baez," and I'm going, "Well, that's that's a high compliment."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it is. It's kind of like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, but I'm also writing kind of farmyard songs for kids, and I'm putting it out. Well, when it's finished, I'll put it out through our charity, the Deep Peace Trust. See, there's the Deep Peace Trust
Yeah.
words
Yeah.
again. Um, and you know, like to all the people out there who are struggling with today, to do your joy and to make a difference with your joy,
Yeah.
make an impact with your joy is probably the best thing you can do. Like
Yeah.
we're not all writing letters to politicians and going through the courts and you know it, I think it's really important that we flood that collective field with our joy.
With joy. Joy seems to be more transformational.
Mm,
That gets everyone up and dancing.
it does. And so do my songs.
Yeah.
So
On
on that note,
on that note, we should end, but we shouldn't end, but we should keep this going at some point because I think there's lots more, and I'm really interested in this. It's great. Do let people know where they can find you because I think you're going to be want to be found like quite a few people, and I'll also put that at the end and in the notes as well, so they can access you in live links, so they can just go straight there as well.
great. So you want me to give you the
Yeah,
link?
just outline where how accessible you are and what you've got coming up really, and how they can find you.
Okay. So if people get on my mailing list at billiedean.com, that's BILLIE, Dean, DEAN.com, then that's where I sort of tell people when I'm having a gathering. I've just opened up an etheric place that I've been working on, which is kind of like a high dimensional Avalon, and it's a container for all the Fae work that I do.
Beautiful.
So I opened that up on solstice, and we all went and got lanterns. So it was really cool.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yay.
and then the other place you can find the protest album and all the compassionate work that I'm doing with animals on rewildingaustralia.com.au. And then there's our sanctuary. I don't stop.
No, it's good.
Yeah, our sanctuary, which is deeppeacetrust.com. So that's an
Plenty
important
of
place,
ways to find you.
and like we are in need of donations. It's
Yeah.
winter, and feed is very expensive.
Yeah.
So any support there to keep this beautiful, peace rippler
Yes.
going is would be very would be
Peace
very happy to
portal.
receive. Yeah.
Peace
Sorry?
portal. Peace portal.
It is a peace portal.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, my love, and we'll get you back. Don't worry.
Always
It'll
got
happen
lots to
again.
say.
Okay, bye, bye.
Bye.
This is about the words people use, like spells, to dress up harm and make it sound like truth. A deer's a biohazard, kangaroos harvested, they say. Donkeys and wild horses introduced, sent away. We call them pests, we call them threats. We give ourselves a pass, but if we're honest for a moment, who's poison, water, air and grass? Let's get real, let's change the tune. We've been singing this too long. All beings belong, all beings belong. Mother Earth, she loves us all, she doesn't want. Why? The land has gone so quiet now, no birds sing in the dawn. The creek still winds through ancient stone, but everyone is gone. I walk the ridge where I was born and call into the sky, but only echoes answer me, and I don't know why. There's sorrow in the snow tonight, there's fear beneath the trees. The mountain holds its breath for us and trembles in the breeze. Why am I so alone? Why in the only country I have known? What did I do wrong? Can somebody tell me why I was only living free beneath the mountain sky? Why do the gentle always cry? I walk among the brumbies, hear the wild call of the land. My heart breaks open softly as their breath falls on my hand. They've been here for 200 years, doing what wild horses do, healing country, holding stories, loving me.